Have you ever walked into someone's house and immediately felt something you couldn't quite explain? Not because the furniture was expensive, not because the walls were beautifully decorated, but because everything felt calm, the air felt lighter, your mind felt quieter, and somehow, without anyone saying a word, the space itself seemed to communicate something about the person living there. Now here's the strange part. Most people assume that people who keep their homes clean simply like cleanliness. But psychology suggests something far deeper is happening. Because when researchers began studying how physical environments affect the human mind, they discovered something surprising. A clean home is rarely just about cleaning. It's often about identity. And once you understand this, you begin to see that the way people treat their living space may reveal far more about their inner world than they realize. But before we get there, there's something even more interesting. Because not all clean people are the same. Some clean because they enjoy order. Some clean because it helps them think. Some clean because it gives them peace. And some clean for a reason they don't even consciously understand. In fact, one of the most fascinating discoveries in psychology is that many of our daily behaviors are not random at all. They're symbolic, small actions that quietly express larger emotional needs. And cleaning might be one of the most misunderstood examples of all. Think about what happens when life feels overwhelming. Deadlines begin stacking up, messages pile up, responsibilities grow heavier, the future becomes uncertain. At first glance, it would seem logical for someone to stop worrying about things like folded blankets or organized shelves. Yet many people do the exact opposite. They begin cleaning. They organize drawers. They wipe counters. They rearrange rooms. Why? Because the human brain craves a sense of order. Not perfection, order. And there is a difference. When the world feels unpredictable, creating structure in a physical space can create a feeling of stability inside the mind. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as environmental control. When external circumstances become difficult to predict, people naturally seek small areas where they can restore certainty. A clean room becomes one of those places, and suddenly cleaning is no longer about the room. It's about emotional balance. But that's only the beginning. Because researchers have repeatedly found that clutter affects the brain in ways most people never notice. Imagine trying to read a book while dozens of people are talking around you. Even if you're focused, part of your attention is constantly being pulled away. Visual clutter works in a similar way. Every object competes for mental processing. Every unfinished task represented by a pile of papers or scattered items quietly asks for attention. Most people don't consciously hear this mental noise, but the brain does. And over time, that invisible distraction creates cognitive load. In simple terms, your mind spends energy processing things that don't actually deserve your attention. This is one reason many people report feeling unexpectedly relieved after cleaning. Nothing dramatic has changed. Their job is the same. Their responsibilities are the same. Their problems are still there, yet somehow they feel lighter because their brain is no longer carrying thousands of tiny visual interruptions. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Because cleanliness isn't always about reducing stress. Sometimes it's about expressing identity. Take a moment and think about a person who carefully makes their bed every morning. Nobody is watching. Nobody is grading them. There is no reward. And yet they do it anyway. Why? Because certain behaviors become symbols of who we believe we are. Psychologists call this identity-based behavior. People don't simply act because of what they want. They often act because of who they believe themselves to be. Someone who sees themselves as disciplined naturally performs disciplined actions. Someone who sees themselves as organized naturally maintains organized environments. The behavior reinforces the identity, and the identity reinforces the behavior. It's a cycle. But here's the twist most people miss. The clean house is not creating the identity. The identity is creating the clean house. And once you understand that distinction, everything changes. Because many people try to force habits without changing how they see themselves. They focus on outcomes. But lasting behavior often comes from self-image. A person who constantly says, "I am trying to become organized," approaches cleaning differently than someone who quietly believes, "I am an organized person." The action may look identical, but psychologically, the foundation is completely different. And this leads to another discovery that surprised researchers. People who maintain clean environments often experience something called decision reduction. Every day, the average person makes thousands of decisions: what to wear, what to eat, what to prioritize, what to ignore. Each choice consumes a small amount of mental energy. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as decision fatigue. The more decisions you make, the harder it becomes to make good ones. Now imagine searching for your keys every morning, searching for documents, searching for chargers, searching for things that should already have a home. These tiny moments seem insignificant, but over weeks, months, and years, they accumulate. People who maintain organized spaces often reduce unnecessary decisions, and because of that, they preserve mental energy for more important things. But there is another layer beneath all of this, one that has less to do with productivity and more to do with emotion. Because some people don't clean when life feels easy. They clean when life feels difficult. Have you ever noticed that after a stressful day, you suddenly feel motivated to organize something? Maybe a desk, maybe a closet, maybe an entire room. At first, it seems unrelated, but psychologists believe this behavior may serve an emotional purpose. When thoughts become tangled, physical organization provides a symbolic form of clarity. The mind cannot always solve complex life problems immediately, but it can fold a blanket, it can organize a shelf, it can create one small island of order, and sometimes that tiny action creates enough psychological momentum to help a person feel grounded again. This is why cleaning often feels strangely satisfying. The result is visible, immediate, concrete. Many challenges in life take months or years to improve. Cleaning provides evidence of progress within minutes, and the brain loves visible progress. But before you conclude that clean people simply have stronger habits, there's another piece of the puzzle you need to understand. Because some of the cleanest people in the world are not motivated by discipline at all. They're motivated by emotion, and what that emotion is may completely change the way you think about cleanliness. Because hidden beneath organized shelves, neatly folded clothes, and spotless countertops is a psychological pattern that most people never notice. A pattern that begins much earlier in life than many realize. And once you see it, you'll understand why two people can perform the exact same cleaning behavior for completely different reasons. And that's where the story becomes even more interesting. Because when psychologists began looking deeper into human behavior, they discovered that our relationship with order often starts long before adulthood. Long before careers, long before responsibilities, long before we ever pay a bill or sign a lease. It often begins in the environments that shaped us. Think about childhood for a moment. Every person grows up absorbing thousands of silent lessons, not lessons taught through lectures, lessons taught through observation. The way parents handled stress, the way family members treated possessions, the atmosphere of the home, the habits repeated day after day. These experiences quietly become part of our mental blueprint. And although people can absolutely change later in life, early experiences often leave fingerprints on the behaviors we carry into adulthood. Some people grew up in highly structured environments. Others grew up surrounded by unpredictability. Some learned that organization created peace. Others learned to adapt to chaos. Neither experience automatically determines the future, but both influence how a person interprets order. And this is where things become fascinating. Because for some people, cleaning is not primarily about the house. It's about the feeling that the house creates. The environment becomes an emotional signal. A clean room says something, not verbally, psychologically. It communicates safety, stability, predictability, mental breathing room, and perhaps most importantly, it communicates intention. Every organized space is evidence that someone made deliberate choices, and the human brain responds strongly to environments that feel intentional. But there's another reason people are drawn toward clean spaces, one that few people talk about. Modern life is filled with unfinished experiences, open tabs, unread messages, half-completed projects, goals waiting for tomorrow, conversations that never quite reached a conclusion. The brain carries all of these loose ends, even when we're not consciously thinking about them. Psychologists often refer to this as mental residue, tiny fragments of attention left behind by unfinished things. Now imagine adding physical clutter on top of that mental clutter. The effect can be surprisingly powerful. A messy environment doesn't just occupy physical space, it occupies psychological space. Every object becomes a reminder. Every pile becomes a signal. every unfinished corner becomes another small demand for attention. And eventually, the mind begins carrying more than it needs to. This doesn't mean every messy person is unhappy. Far from it. Many creative people thrive in environments that appear chaotic to others. Many successful people care very little about perfect organization. Human beings are wonderfully diverse. But what researchers consistently find is that physical environments influence mental states more than most people realize. And people who keep their homes clean often understand this instinctively. Maybe not consciously, but intuitively. They recognize that when their surroundings become calmer, their thoughts often follow. Yet here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because the healthiest form of cleanliness has nothing to do with perfection. In fact, perfection often creates the opposite effect. Many people confuse organization with perfectionism, but psychologically, they are very different. Organization says, I value order. Perfectionism says, everything must be flawless. One creates peace, the other can create pressure. A person with a healthy relationship toward cleanliness understands that a home is meant to be lived in. A blanket might be slightly crooked, a book may remain on the table, a coffee cup may sit beside the couch, and that's perfectly normal. Life leaves traces. The goal isn't to erase evidence of living. The goal is to create an environment that supports living well. This distinction matters because some of the happiest people maintain clean homes without obsessing over them. They don't chase perfection. They practice maintenance, small actions, repeated consistently. And psychologically, this reflects an important principle. Tiny behaviors shape identity more effectively than dramatic transformations. People often imagine change as a giant breakthrough. One massive moment, one complete reinvention. But real change rarely works that way. More often, it arrives quietly. One shelf organized today, one habit repeated tomorrow, one decision made slightly better than yesterday. Over time, these small actions become a lifestyle, and eventually, a lifestyle becomes part of who you are. This is why people who maintain clean homes often appear calm. Not because they never experience stress, not because life is easier for them, but because they have developed systems that reduce unnecessary friction. They've learned how to preserve mental energy, and that energy can then be invested elsewhere, into relationships, into creativity, into meaningful work, into experiences that matter. But perhaps the most profound insight of all has nothing to do with organization. It has to do with self-respect. Because hidden inside many healthy habits is a quiet message, a message people rarely speak aloud. The message is simple. I matter enough to care for my environment. That's it. Not perfection, not superiority, not status, care. The same reason someone waters a plant, the same reason someone prepares a healthy meal, the same reason someone straightens a room before going to sleep. These actions communicate value. They acknowledge that daily life deserves attention. And in a world constantly encouraging people to rush from one thing to the next, that mindset becomes increasingly rare. Think about how many moments of life happen at home. Morning coffee, late night thoughts, family conversations, moments of celebration, moments of uncertainty, ordinary memories that eventually become extraordinary simply because they happened. The environment surrounding those moments matters more than we often realize, not because happiness comes from spotless countertops, but because environments shape experiences. A peaceful space supports peaceful moments. A thoughtful space supports thoughtful living. And this brings us to something deeply philosophical. Many people spend years searching for dramatic answers. A new destination, a new opportunity, a new achievement, believing that fulfillment exists somewhere far away. But sometimes transformation begins much closer. Sometimes it begins with the spaces we already occupy. The room where we wake up, the desk where we think, the home where we spend most of our lives. Because whether we notice it or not, our surroundings continuously communicate with us. Every day, every hour, every moment. And the people who keep their homes clean often understand a truth that many overlook. External order cannot solve every internal struggle, but it can support the person trying to navigate them. A clean room cannot create happiness, but it can remove distractions from happiness. It cannot create purpose, but it can create space to think about purpose. It cannot eliminate uncertainty, but it can provide stability while uncertainty passes. And perhaps that's the real psychology behind people who keep their homes clean. Not control, not perfection, not obsession, awareness, an understanding that small actions influence emotional states, that environments influence thoughts, that daily habits quietly shape daily experiences. And maybe that's why stepping into a clean home often feels different. You're not just seeing organized objects, you're seeing evidence of intention. Evidence that someone cared enough to shape their environment rather than simply react to it. And in many ways, that's what a meaningful life is. Not a perfectly arranged existence, not a flawless journey, but a series of small, intentional choices repeated over time. Choices that gradually transform the spaces around us, and in the process, transform us too. Because at the end of the day, a clean house is never really about the house. It's about the person living inside it, the thoughts they carry, the habits they nurture, the peace they seek, and the quiet belief that even the smallest acts of care can create a life that feels a little lighter, a little clearer, and a little more intentional than the day before. And perhaps that is what we are all searching for. Not perfection, but peace. Not control, but clarity. Not a spotless home, but a place where the mind can finally exhale.